Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Mr. Jacob, you discussed and even debated this theory at length with Dr. Eastman. Did Dr. Eastman ever tell you what he thought the U.S. Supreme Court would do if it had to decide this issue?
Yes. We had an extended discussion, an hour and a half to 2 hours on January 5th. And when I pressed him on the point, I said, John, if the vice president did what you were asking him to do, we would lose 9-0 in the Supreme Court, wouldn't we? And he initially started it, well, I think maybe you would lose only 7-2. And after some further discussion, acknowledged, well, yeah, you're right, we would lose 9-0.
And so, Eastman understood that his plan was anti-constitutional, that his plan was illegal, that his plan was criminal, that his plan violated the Electoral Count Act and constitutional provisions for how the Senate and the House preside over the counting of the slate of electors. It's unbelievable. But he found himself a lawyer who'll go out on TV, and you know what's interesting about that? So remember this. Remember Rudy? Rudy was, telling you all kinds of, crap about boxes being moved and under the tables, and Ruby and her daughter and Shay, and they were passing USB ports, which turned out to be ginger mints. Yum. For bad belly, nothing better than ginger. Anyway, no, they're USBs or vials of crack. Remember that? Or vials of heroin or something. Because that's what came to his mind when he looked at Shay Moss. That's what came to Rudy Giuliani's racist little freaking pea brain when he looked at Ruby Freeman, right? That they were passing vials of drugs back and forth. I mean, singled them out, named them, caused them great harm, but never, ever, ever made that case in court. Remember that? Never alleged fraud when he was in court as an officer of the court. Because if, while he was acting as an officer of the court in the court, he had, said these unbelievably disgusting lies, he would have lost his law license. And so he didn't make those arguments in court. That's what John Lauro is playing. That's the game he's playing here. That's why he did the full Ginsburg. That's why he went on every Sunday show. And he said the same thing on every one of those 5 shows. I know because I have all the clips, okay? And every one of those shows, he alleged that John Eastman was who Donald Trump decided to listen to because he was an esteemed constitutional law scholar. And his word was as valuable as everybody else's word who was telling Donald Trump that what he was proposing was violative of the Constitution, was illegal, and was a crime. And by everybody, I mean everybody. The Vice President of the United States, past Vice Presidents of the United States, conservative court justices, judges, Greg Jacob, his counsel, Pence's counsel, Eric Hirschman, Donald Trump's own White House counsel. Remember him? 50 secretaries of state, 50 of them, 60 court decisions, 60 of them. I mean, this didn't come out of, thin air, that there's nothing is in dispute. The election was solid. There was no fraud. This didn't come out of thin. And he decided, John Lauro's cases. But Donald Trump decided to listen to John Eastman, and he was entitled to rely on his opinion as a lawyer. No, he wasn't. You know why? John Eastman had no evidence regarding one way or another whether there was fraud in the election. Everybody else did. Everybody else saw what the courts decided. Everybody else saw what the secretaries of state said. Everybody else saw that there were phony papers that were forged and fake, that had fake electors, not alternate electors, but fake, fraudulent ones, who literally swore under oath and signed their names that they were the duly selected electors. Some of them were tricked. Some of them were told, well, this slate will only be used if Donald Trump prevails in court in your state, right? So some of them were tricked into putting their names down. Others of them didn't give a rat's ass whether or not it was true or false. They just wanted to, be all Donald Trumpy and as Trumpy as they could. As Trumpy as they want to be. That's right. and now they're sitting there telling us, oh, he had every right to rely on a guy who never saw the evidence in any of these 60 cases, who never saw the evidence in any of these 50 states, who just was tapped by Ginny Thomas. And she knew him because he had clerked for her husband back in the day. And Michael Ludwig, now we understand why Michael Ludwig was so relied upon, because he clerked for Michael Ludwig too. John Eastman did. And John Eastman, Michael Ludwig knew John Eastman was full of dung, full of crap, was full of bile, understood he was nuts and not to be relied on, and advised Mike Pence thusly, told him that. And so, this is just for public consumption. This is spin in the classic sense. Is John Lauro breaking some law when he goes on all 5 Sunday shows? No, he's not. He has a right to free speech, too. And he has a right to lie as well. The thing is, he's messing with our democracy, and he doesn't care. You know what he's for now? And this, you got to kind of say, okay, it all makes sense to me now, right? You know that we in this audience and me and, just about every thinking person in the political arena wants this trial to be televised. Everyone wants it on TV. Why? Because the American people need to see it and appreciate it and understand it. They need to debate it. They need to sort through it. They need to see the evidence for themselves. The country is so freaking polarized that it's going to make the OJ split screen look stupid, okay? But it would be violent if people didn't have the right or ability to see it in real time, to understand what the evidence actually shows, to understand the case, to understand that John Lauro is not going to make the case that he's making on the TV in court. He can't. And everybody needs to see it. But you know who wants it on the TV? John Lauro. Now I get it. John Lauro had a taste of fame when he was representing this ref, okay, this NBA referee. A little touch, a little tad, because otherwise he was one of those lawyers that operated quietly and discreetly because he was representing a Wall Street guy who was accused of working with the mafia. His other big case was a guy who skipped out on a $46 Italian restaurant tab because he didn't think there was enough seafood in his seafood Alfredo. But now, all of a sudden, this guy from Tampa, this out-of-nowhere guy, he sees his opportunity to be the next F. Lee Bailey, the next Johnny Cochran, the next big defense lawyer, the next big thing. And, some of these adrenaline junkie lawyers can't say no. They can't. They just say, we're born to fight. They want to fight, but they want to fight on TV. And even if Donald Trump settles and, does some time in jail, or even if Donald Trump settles and says, okay, I promise not to run for president, that might be satisfying. That might actually do it. John Lauro wants it done on TV. He wants to be on TV. He wants to be the next big thing. Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to randyrhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.